Hello, I'm the Cartoon Gentleman bringing you organized chaos. Let's talk about Spike episodes. The standard archetype for a Spike episode. Spike does something, he gets in over his head, he thinks of the worst possible scenario and outcome, and then he ignores the obvious solution in order to try to prevent it. It's not exactly a hard formula to figure out. So, by the tone of my voice, and by the fact I opened with that, you must have thought I hated this episode. Well, no I didn't. I did not hate this episode. But I will say this, it didn't live up to its potential. The standard Spike episode, as I said, is that it just gets too over his head and tries to do so much in order to prevent some sort of oncoming disaster, while completely ignoring the obvious solution, which in this case is just admit that he made a mistake and try to hang out with both Ember and Thorax and to help him out with both their problems. But nope, his ongoing fear that those two might actually go to war with each other continues to plague his mind. Even with Twilight and Starlight's help, he's barely able to keep up the pace between keeping them separate while still hanging out with two of them individually. It's a setup we've seen many times before. I take personal grievances with this episode in particular because they've gotten so much better at portraying characters lately. Just look at Fluttershy! Most episodes involving Fluttershy involve her getting over some kind of fear. But lately, it's been less about her getting over a fear and more about her finally being assertive and speaking her mind. She's a complete 180 character from what she was originally. The same could be said about Applejack. When it comes to Applejack-based episodes, the only time she ever suffers a problem is when it comes to family. And while she still has some of that problem, most of her grievances rely in trying to help some pony else. Honesty, episodes involving Spike, that's where he shines the most. Supporting another character. In the episode where we first meet Ember, the dragons were going through a trial in order to figure out who's going to be the next Dragon King. But Spike had nothing to do with the trial and didn't want to have any part of it. He only competed in order to make sure that no other evil dragon could get the scepter. When he found he could trust Ember, he willingly forgoed the title to her and let her be Queen of the Dragons so that there can be peace. Among Spike-focused episodes, that is one of my favorites. It puts Spike in the shining light in the role that he's best suited for. Support, help, and genuine knowledge of what's right and wrong. The same could be said for when we first meet Thorax. Oh sure, Spike was hesitant to trust him at first, and when it came down to supporting his friend versus protecting his title, he did have struggles, but eventually he did come around and show how much he's matured and saying that not everyone is exactly alike. Maybe this changeling is good. Maybe we shouldn't just judge him based on his appearance. That's the kind of episode I want to see Spike in. That kind of episode is what I want to see him be portrayed as. A helpful friend who's mature enough to see what the writing on the wall. The problem is, we didn't get that this time. In fact, one could even say that Spike screwed up so bad that he actually managed to cause a friendship problem so big that the magical table of destiny said, yeah, you better fix this right now, because otherwise we're going to have a war on our hands. It's a weird feeling that when I have to side with furniture over an actual people. It's pretty clear that this episode was nothing more than a standard Spike episode, where, again, he's just trying to avoid the biggest problem possible. The redeeming qualities of this episode is the fact that we not only get to see Thorax and Ember again, Ember, the second time she's ever made an appearance, but it's still not enough to save the episode from Spike. I'm sorry I'm not being the whole ha-ha critic that I usually am. But in honesty, this is a really deep statement that I thought needed to be pointed out. Spike, this episode had so much potential. So the fact that you watered it down to a standard Spike episode is... I'm getting flashbacks of the Canterlot games. Take this episode for what it's worth. Enjoy Ember and Thorax. And if you can stomach a classic Spike episode, I really don't see a harm in that. I just wish they would just try more new things with Spike. With that being said, I'm the Cartoon Gentleman. I didn't bring you very much organized chaos this time. But hopefully next episode will be a humdinger of a hoot. Did you really just say that? Well, I have to close this episode out with something. Okay, I can't end the episode like this. It's too boring. Let's see if I can't weasel in a couple of last-minute jokes. The cutie map is a dick to dragons. Ember literally chews the scenery. And Derpy single-handedly destroyed all the race of dragons that day. There. Enjoy the rest of your day.